Welcome to the Blood Angels Commander channel.
Oh, good evening. I think we're live, are we? I think so. Good evening, good evening. How's everybody? Give me a shout out in chat if you can hear me okay. I clicked something about QA in the message box, but I don't think it did anything. It said I could start a Q&A, but I don't really know what that is. Some sort of new YouTube feature. Good evening. Let me just move this chat box a tiny bit. Perfect. Okay. We're here to talk about army lists every Sunday night. This is what we do. We're going to look at like army lists from 6 community members. We've got Carter, Kale, Inks, Mac, Paul, Ewan, and Toasty Devil. That's our 6 lists for tonight. If you want to submit a list for a future show, what you need to do is you want to bring up your web browser. You want to go to YouTube /BA_commander. YouTube are doing this new thing where you can get to channels by using the @ so youtube.com/_BA commander. You want to hit community, and you want to just post your army list in the most recent community thread that's on here. I usually put a community thread up like every few days. It doesn't really matter how old it is. Just click on comments, dump your army list in as text. We'll get you added to the queue. Queue times are usually a couple of weeks. Yeah, so we're going to, I guess, get straight into it. As always, if there is any questions, mainly Blood Angels questions, but I mean, I guess you could ask other questions if you had something else you wanted to ask. I'll do my best to answer it, and that's about it. Look at all those green names in the chat tonight. Thank you so much for all the support, guys. I do really appreciate all the channel memberships. They are super appreciated. Robert's here, Nathan, Adamart, Nuckings in the house, Jimmy, Rezio, Jamie's here. Good evening, everybody. Hello. Alright, so this list is from Carter. Carter maybe isn't in here. Ronan's in here, Ben's in here. Hello, Ben. Alright, we've got super simple list running a single Vanguard attachment. Well, we don't see that very often, so this will be interesting. Each melee unit has been tailored to have some meaningful firepower, but it's pre-charged with a Death Company and Sanguinary Guard, or medium range with assault squads backing up the melee heavy list, are 2 whirlwinds sitting in the backfield. Okay? Holding objectives has been causing absolute havoc on the enemy, providing my melee list with more opportunities to devastate. Utilizing the assault squads early to protect the whirlwinds and screen out the enemy from entering my battlefield. Alternatively, the Sanguinary Guard can play the waiting game, filling the same role while the assault squads provide harassment. I don't know about 2 whirlwinds, but I guess let's look at the list and it's wholesome, and then let's decide. There's some Death Company support by Dante or Mephisto, and both characters provide further support from the melee list, charging in with Angel Sacrifice if needed, or providing the Vita auras. This list requires planning, using cover. I mean, all Blood Angels lists need a lot of cover at the moment, I guess, and timing charges. I assume what he means by timing charges is charges when you're Assault Doctrine, because charges before then are difficult, or underwhelming, maybe would be a better word. Overall, I think there's enough strength, AP damage within each melee unit to not need investing more than the 2 whirlwinds in the list. The double whirlwind play will provide me with 2 chances at critical charge targets, while being safely in cover. Let me know what you think here. Secondaries can be changed depending on the mission. There are a few that I think fits well, and this is Carter's all melee list. I'm really confused as to why you've done 2 whirlwinds. Okay, we've got Dante +1 CP. He is the Warlord. Perfect. We've got Mephisto, Quickening, Unleash Rage. We've got Shield. Unleash Rage is great. Quickening, I've been talking about this the other night on stream and said Quickening is a terrible power, don't take it. Shield of Sanguinius is fine if you have a unit that's really going to benefit from a 5-up invulnerable save. Benno, hello, good evening. How are you feeling about 3 Warglaives as heavy support? I mean, I'm feeling well enough, Robert, that I'm running them as... I'm taking them to the tournament I'm going to next week. Can't the Whirlwind strategy be used in one... It can't be used. You can't use the same stratagem twice in a single phase, regardless if you have 2 Whirlwinds or not, Jim. So if that was the reason to take 2 Whirlwinds, then it's kind of a moot point, because you can't do that. Okay. We've got a Death Company with 3 Thunderhammers, 2 Power Swords, Infernal Pistols, and 1 with Power Sword. So it's a 6-man. And he's done that 3 times, sorry. Okay. So that's 3 of his elite choices. He's then done 3 Sanguinary Guards, and they're all 6s. All with swords, 3 with Infernal Pistols, 3 with Bolters. One of these squads is 6 axes for the 5+ strength, and you can mix 2 in 1 squad. Okay, perfect, yeah. I tend to put 4 sword guys, 2 axes in my squads at the moment. First attack, we've got 2 squads of a sergeant with a thunderhammer and an infernal pistol, 2 with a melt gun, 1 with an eviscerator, and 2 with chain swords, bolt pistols. Bolter pistols had me confused for a minute. Bolt pistols. And then 2 whirlwinds. Let me answer this question for chat and then we'll get back to the list. Ronan says, would you consider taking a Death Company and a drop pod for getting a turn 1 charge and combo that with a Relentless Assault and Death from Above for 8 points? I mean, you could, Ronan. I think you would need to put a character that gives rerolls to the charge in the drop pod, right? Because a 9-inch charge typically isn't that reliable. So you the reason that I have a drop pod and I have other, the reason I don't do that is I think if you want to do that, you have to invest quite a lot of points, because you probably want the chaplain so you can get +2 charge. You probably want a character with Icon of the Angel so you can get rerolls to the charge. You possibly want Carbolo there so you can get them an Assault Doctrine, and then all of a sudden, I mean, if you do all that, you could have a Death Company and some company veterans, because I think they drop. So you could kind of do it, but suddenly it'd be I think if you want to do it optimally, it becomes like a 400 or 500 point investment, and I don't love it. If you want 2 whirlwinds, the Forge World one is a lot better. The Forge World one is better in terms of damage, but it's bad because it doesn't have the right keyword for the whirlwind strat, right? Because the whirlwind strat, suppression fire, says 1 whirlwind. So it uses the whirlwind keyword. Whereas the Forge World one doesn't have the whirlwind keyword, it is the whirlwind Scorpius keyword. So the Scorpius one is sort of better for damage. It is a lot more points, like 45 more points. You're getting heavy 3d3, 6 - 2 damage. So yeah, I mean, you're removing a lot of unreliability, but you're removing the one reason to take the whirlwind, which is the strat, really. You don't take the whirlwind for damage. And if you're shooting indirect, -2 suddenly doesn't really seem that bad, because suddenly it's just -1, and if they're in cover or if they're a Space Marine, then it's -0. So, yeah. In this list, the first thing I do is drop the 2nd Whirlwind and, I was going to say take the Sanguinary Priest, but because this is a Vanguard detachment, how many HQ slots does a Vanguard detachment get? I actually don't know. I assume it's just 2. I assume that's the problem here. You can't put you can't have 3 characters in the Vanguard detachment. Is that right? I guess it would just be like match play rules. Is that where I'd get Battalion? Or Vanguard? No. I guess, is it part of the core rules? Yeah, okay, Vanguard detachment. Yeah, so that's your problem. Because I think the Sanguinary Priest is so important to Blood Angels. I think not having this Sanguinary Priest in a list sucks. Because I always find that if I don't have Assault Doctrine up, especially for Thunderhammers now, right? Because Thunderhammers are only -2, so if you fight Armor of Contempt units, then Thunderhammers are only -1 now. -1 Thunderhammers into Marines is that's just a 4-up save against Thunderhammers, which is pretty fucking good. For the person saving, it's pretty fucking bad for using 45, a guy that costs an extra 15 points on his weapon. when we were looking at that squat character last night, he gets a D3 plus 3 Thunderhammer for 10 points. Balanced, right? uh, uh, fucking squats, man. Anyway, all melee lists like this can probably work, but I guess the problem is, don't Vanguard detachments cost 3 CP? Why is he only taking 2 off? Yeah, CP costs 3. I think this would be -3 because you said you've made Dante the Warlord for +1, but you've spent his Warlord trait. And Vanguard detachments don't refund if your Warlord's in the detachment. It's just battalions, brigades, and patrols. But I mean, no one really runs brigades in 2,000 points, right? Yeah, I think that's a mistake. Anyway, I mean, Mephiston and Dante are fine. The Death Company loadouts are generally fine. I dislike that the Death Company are all 6 men, because 6 men means that. Good evening, MJ. Good evening, James. 6 men means that you can't Forlorn Fury for 1 CP. And I think you always want to be able to Forlorn Fury for 1 CP. The problem with Forlorn Fury is without Assault Doctrine, it can be pretty lackluster, and I guess this list is going to suffer from that. The 2 Assault Squads, I guess, are fine. The 3 Sanguinary Guard squads are fine. Double Whirlwind seems wrong to me. You like throughout the course of a game, even if you've come up against like toughness 3 enemies, so your Whirlwind is wounding on 2s, you're probably the Whirlwind probably is chipping off like 5. If the Whirlwind does 5 wounds against like toughness 3 infantry across the course of the game now, that's probably a win for it. Like, it just doesn't do damage. It just doesn't do damage. So there's no point to take a second Whirlwind, I feel like, in this list. I would actually be more okay with taking an auxiliary detachment. This is a detachment that like nobody takes ever, but you can take like a auxiliary support detachment to basically just have a single HQ. It's going to cost you 2 CP as well, which is kind of shitty, but I mean, it means that you could run all this other stuff if you wanted. I would spend the 2 CP. I guess that means you're just starting on 1 CP, but technically 1 CP is all you need for Forlorn Fury. And I would drop the Whirlwind, which is 125 points, and pick up a Sanguinary Priest with a jump pack, which is 120 points. I'd also drop 1 Death Company Marine out of one of these squads, and maybe make one of your Sandguard squads a 7. That's what I would do. I don't think like an all melee list like this is great, but like without being able to get into the Assault Doctrine for 2 turns, it sucks, man. Far too often in the early game, my charges of like 6-man Sanguinary Guards or 5-man Death Companies, if you don't have them in Assault Doctrine, they don't do the damage you want them to do. That extra point of AP, that extra attack, it makes a lot of difference. I remember when I was doing the Death Company video a few weeks ago. Let me see if I can just pull that up real quick. Just to show you like the difference it actually makes. In this video I made, I did some maths about like how you buff the Death Company, right? And like if you give 5 Death Company with hammers, if you give, so they do 5.56 damage to a Leviathan Dreadnought, right? If you bring a Chapter Master, it increases to 8.33. If you use Unleash Rage, it increases to 7.4, which I guess I should say that. So Chapter Master is a 50% damage bonus. Unleash Rage is a 33% damage bonus. Massive Doom from like Astrath is a 33% damage bonus. A Chapter Banner from like the Ancient is a 33% damage bonus. And the bonus from Assault Doctrine is 87%. So Assault Doctrine, in terms of like, in just this one matchup, is like almost double the bonus that the Chapter Master gives. So having an all melee Blood Angels list like this, without the ability to get into Assault Doctrine, for me, I wouldn't. I mean, the second whirlwind seems like an easy change. I'd swap it out. Whose lists are covered tonight? Your list is up next week, Mike. Because I was looking at next week's list. You'll be one of the first for next week. There was a second place finish, undefeated with 2 hammer strikes. I was going to try and do a review of one of the lists that's using those storm speeders in the next couple of weeks. So appreciate that. If you want to DM me any links as well. But yeah, we'll be covering an army list that's using like double storm speeder as well. Am I all set for next week? Ask Gav. I mean, I think list submission has passed, Gav. I submitted a list. Is it going to win the event? Probably not. It's going to be a fun list for me to play. I hope so. I mean, it's basically a list that beats squats. I don't think I made any changes. I did look at it earlier. I maybe switched out like a chain sword here or there. I looked at it earlier, trying to think if I could fit my bike captain into it, but I really can't, because if I put my bike captain into it, it like pigeonholes me into basically starting on no CP, and I'm not willing to start on no CP. Because I need 1 CP for my pre-game move, potentially. So, like, I could take a Warlord trait that would generate my CP, but that wouldn't happen until the command phase, which means that I would still have no CP for my Forlorn Fury, which... For another tech choice, Scouts and Landspeeder Storm instead of a second Whirlwind. He's got maximum number of elites here, though. Highland Phoenix, he already has 6, so I guess he couldn't fit in the Scouts. I don't sound convinced. I mean, Gav, what do you want me to say? Like, I was just before you got on, I was saying like the squats get a Thunderhammer that's D3 plus 3 for 10 points, right? All our Thunderhammers just do 3 damage for 15 points. Like, before you even count the fact that if they wound you on a 6th, all their damage becomes mortals. I mean, yeah, I'm not convinced with Blood Angels in the meta right now. I mean, I guess that's what I have to say. All right. Kale, maybe. All right, he's returned with a few more weeks of playing. He's still playing Retrieve Nakman Data, Death from Above, Relentless Assault. Attached his updated list. He feels pretty happy. Lots of versatility and speed. Let me know what you think. Love the channel. Okay. Eradicators and 7 other Whirlwind. 1 squad of 3-man Eradicators never seemed to perform for me. I've had people say that like a 5-man squad of Eradicators is really good, but I've run the MSU size unit, like just the 3 Eradicators for 135 points. I ran it to the last RTT. And it's kind of okay, but then there's some targets that's just not enough shots against, and Eradicators don't have the greatest mobility, and you can't split their fire because of their total annihilation rule. So I think 3 Eradicators might not. They might work better for more shooting-based chapters. How many squad players are expected at the tournament? There is 1, apparently. On BCP, Andrew said that there was 1, or somebody said there was 1. Maybe it was Miles said there was 1. I've been pretty out of it this weekend, actually, because it was my daughter's birthday today. So, alright. This is a second list with Death from Above, Retrieve Nakman Data, and Relentless Assault. He's got the Chaplain, Master of Strength, Canticle of Hate. He is the Master of Sanctity, so it's 2 litanies. He's Icon of Angel, so he's re-rolling. That's a... Oh yeah, Master of Sanctity. Okay, so he doesn't have the Wise Orator trait, so... Seems strange to not pay the 1 CP for Wise Orator, especially if you're ever going to use Commanding Oratory, but I mean, I guess that's fine. I feel like that's kind of the whole point of updating him to Master of Sanctity, but maybe not. Commander down to his Warlord to get our 1 CP back, and then our Sanguinary Priest with nothing else on him just as he comes. If you're running the Sanguinary Priest like this, I think this is a great character to give Rites of War to, right? Because he doesn't really do any damage. So just have him... I mean, he's there for turn 1 to get you an Assault Doctor, and turn 2 to get you an Assault Doctor, and in turn 3 maybe to Rites of War some objectives, right? Like, he's got 6 Chainsword attacks. What the fuck's he going to do with that? Nothing. If he takes like 2 or 3 wounds off something, that's a win. And he also doesn't survive because he's toughness 4 with 4 wounds. So give him Rights of War. 2 turns of getting you an Assault Doctrine, and then beyond that, use Rights of War on him. We've got we've got 1 Assault Intercessor squad, and we've got 2 Incursors with the Mines. I don't like the Mines. I think they're a waste of points. It's 10 points to do, is it D3 mortal wounds when you get charged? Once per battle when an enemy finishes a charge, roll a 6d6 on a 2+ that enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. If it's a vehicle, it suffers 3 mortals instead. Okay, so 5 times out of 6 when you get charged, you do D3 mortal wounds. Is that worth it? Like for 10 points? I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't spend the points on the mines. I don't think it's worth it. I'd rather spend them on something that's going to be more useful, I feel like. Blood Angels, Death Company, 3 hammers, 2 infernal pistols, 160 points. Vanguard, 2 infernal pistols, swords and axes mixed. We got the teleporters. We got the Terminators here with the teleport homers, 3 thunder hammers, 2 lightning claws. I like this actually. I just like Terminators with lightning claws. This is a battalion as well. He's got 5 CP. You could easily mastercraft the sergeant's thunder hammer here. Give this Terminator sergeant a 4 damage hammer. I like it. Yeah, why not? I mean, it's 1 CP. We've got Inceptors with the plasmas. I don't run these myself. I think they're very expensive at 60 points per model, but they can do a decent amount of work. Storm Speeders. The Hammer Strike. That was the one I was running. I think it's decent-ish. Reasonably survivable. I don't dislike the Hammer Strike. I think it's an okay unit. Maybe it's like 10, 15 points too expensive in my opinion because it's only got 10 wounds and toughness 6. You've got the 2 Las Fusel Quake Bolts Eliminators. So the Sergeant bringing the Quake Bolts. I guess Quake Bolts will help with the Terminators. It will help with the Death Company as well, potentially. We also have a Storm Talon Gunship, which I guess nobody runs. I don't even know what the weapons are on a Storm Talon gunship. Is it? No, I don't have a fucking clue actually. What did you say his weapons were? The Typhoon Missile Launcher. So is equipped with a twin assault cannon, which we know is heavy 12, 6 minus 1, and Typhoon Missile Launchers. Basically, okay, so it's a Cyclone Missile Launcher. I mean, I guess if he's taking Relentless Assault, it kind of makes sense. What is this? Toughness 6, 10 wounds, 165 points. I really don't. It's funny actually that the Typhoon Missile Launcher, which essentially is a Cyclone Missile Launcher, here is actually 5 points cheaper than a Cyclone Missile Launcher. I was complaining the other day saying Cyclone Missile Launchers aren't that good. For 25 points, I don't think they're that good. This is a 20-point version of the Cyclone Missile Launcher, I guess because it already had some missiles on it. I mean, I just don't think Cyclones are that good. It's the D6 damage that puts me off for 25 points. I'd probably rather run a second Hammer Strike. You're probably right, because Assault Cannons... Yeah, I mean... Frag never seems to be that effective. Even if you shoot frag against toughness 3 enemies, it never seems that effective. I don't know why that is. It just never seems. Maybe it's because it's too much range, 2d6, you know? What do I like about this list then? I like the characters, pretty much. Maybe prefer if we had Rights of War in there. I like the 5-man Death Company. I dislike a 5-man Sanguinary Guard. I think it's not big enough. I think they should be 6s or 7s. I like the Terminators even though they're slow. I like the Hammer Strike, but then I think there's probably too many points spent on like shooting and I said like what's this, 240 plus 145 plus 150 plus 185. Yeah, like 720 points on shooting. I probably wouldn't go over 500 points ever in a Blood Angels list on shooting. I think the only way you could go over 500 points is like if you had 2 Redemptors and a Whirlwind. I think Redemptors are like 185, maybe they're 195 now. I know that maybe you can get them for like 185. So yeah, if you have 2 Redemptors and a Whirlwind, you were like 500 points. And in some ways, the Redemptors are good because they still offer like melee threat, right? Because their fists on the Redemptor are D3+3, and they're probably one of the few things in fucking Space Marines that actually are D3+3. Because our Codex came out before everybody else got everything doing D3+3 or other stuff. So I definitely don't spend like 700 points on fire support. And also, in my games, it usually is the Death Company and the Sanguinary Guard that will do the majority of the damage. So, if you only have 2 of them... I've been to a tournament before where I had 1 Sanguinary Guard. I think I went to an event where I had like 1 Sanguinary Guard, I think it was an 8, the Terminator Squad, and Blade Guard Veterans. And it just puts so much weight on those 3 units to perform. Like, those units just have to perform because... Yes, our shooting, like, I never come out of a shooting phase and go like, well, very rarely, I suppose, do I come out of a shooting phase and be like, wow, that was a brilliant shooting phase for me. Most of the time when I come out of the shooting phase, I think like, you know, I killed a few things, but I probably wish I could have done more. So if you're putting 700 points into shooting and that's the feeling that you get coming out of it, then you put tons of weight on these models. I suppose you can score your secondaries. The Terminators can start off the board. I actually don't know what else you've got deep striking. Are the Sanguinary Guard deep striking? Oh, the Inceptors, I suppose, are deep striking. So yeah, I mean, you can score some points here from Death from Above, but I do think 1 squad of Death Company and 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard is probably the wrong call at the moment. You know, the guy that won the US Open, he ran 3 of each. I think he ran 3 5s of Death Company and 3 7s of Sangard. So your Sanguinary Guard are too strong, too small. But yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have a problem with Terminators. If you're going to deep strike a unit, and you're going to use like Icon of the Angel / Canticle of Hate, and it is going to be a squad of Terminators, then I guess that's the most reliable way you're going to make a charge from Deep Strike, and you're going to try and score around it. I mean, it's okay. A 7-inch charge is 58%, so I guess if you 42 times 0.58 of 0.58, that's not right, but so 82% chance. I mean, an 82% chance for a Terminator squad to make a charge, it's not bad. It's possibly better to drop them down for 1 turn somewhere obscured, because Terminators are pretty darn durable with Armor of Contempt, and being in cover, they can basically be on like a 0-up save, I believe the Storm Shield Terminators are on. So you have to hit them with -4 to even get them on their 4-up and vulnerable save. My Terminators in tournament events actually have been pretty reliable. But I mean, 82% is reliable, right? It's just a case of like, there's always a gamble there. Even 82% at a key tournament game, you may fail it. And Reziel says you have to think of it as a Hail Mary. Yeah, it is a Hail Mary, I guess, Reziel. But an 82% Hail Mary or a 66% Hail Mary is actually not, you know, like when we talk of a Hail Mary, we, you know, in a game of American football, like, what's the chances of a Hail Mary? Like 10, 20%? I don't know. If they're throwing like an 80-yard touchdown pass, a 66% Hail Mary to win an event is not bad. An 82% Hail Mary to win an event, again, is not bad. Like, if I just said to you, 82% chance to win this event, would you take it? You know, like, it's pretty decent, right? But yeah, this list I think is too much fire support. Could probably use Rites of War. I tried dropping the 4th hammer recently. I ran 3 hammers and 2 infernal pistols. I also think that's the wrong call. I think you do want 1 squad of 4 hammers. If you want a squad with infernal pistols, I think you need a 2nd squad. of Death Company, and that's what I'm doing now. So yeah. 2 squads of Eliminators and 3 troops. Kind of makes me feel like, you know, you talk about Relentless Assault, you talk about Retrieve NAC1 data. I mean, you feel like you need 5 units to do that. So you could probably lose, like, the gunship and a squad of Eliminators. Maybe replace that with, like, that'd be like 250 points. So you could possibly add, like, the second Sandguard and make this for. You could probably add, like, an extra model to the first Sandguard and another 6 Sandguard. Or go, like, on a second Death Company with, like, Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. Both those things, I think, would make this list better. No one's running a twin assault cannon, and trust me, cyclone missile launchers are overcosted bullshit. When you have strength 8 minus 2, what's going to happen is you're going to hit once, you're going to potentially wound once, and then if you're playing anything that's in cover or has armor of contempt, they're probably not going to fail their save. And even if they do fail their save, then you'll probably end up rolling on 1 or 2, so you do 2 damage. So you paid 20 points to do 2 damage, and then your model's dead anyway because it can't survive. So I think that this, if you compare as much as I complain that the Storm Speeders aren't good, or the Storm Speeders could come down 10 points, I think the Storm Speeder is infinitely better than the Storm Talon gunship. Like, no one runs gunships in competitive play, period, I guess. Hey, Mike, good evening. Thanks for coming in, talking in chat. What other questions have I got missed? What is the chances of failing Psychic and Litanies without Mastery? It's the same argument. Yeah, but I mean, sometimes failing Psychic or Litanies without Mastery is possibly not such a game-winning thing as, like, 5 Terminators making or failing a charge, right? Like, if you don't cast Massive Doom, or if you don't cast, I don't know, Smite or something, it's not the same as, like, 5 Terminators with Lightning Claws and Thunderhammers making a charge. I miss the days when we could get 3d6 charges. That was fun. Will I be using Knights in the future, asks Ivan. I'm going to use them this week on Wednesday because it's going to be my second game with them, and then on fucking next Saturday I'm going to take them to GT. So, yeah. That's the way it goes. Okay. List number 3 tonight, Inks. Good evening, Inks. I did see you in the chat a little bit earlier. How are you? Alright, this is a battalion starting on 3 CP, 2000 points. Astaroth, Litany of Faith, Litany of Hate. Dante, Heroic Baron, Warlord, Trait, Warlord. So plus 1 CP, minus 1 CP. I still don't know if I rate Heroic Baron. Like, a lot of people take it. A lot less people take it now. But I never really felt the need of, like, I'm desperate to make his aura 9 inches. I don't feel like I fail that many leadership tests either. So I really think in most games you fail 1 leadership test with Marines. So whether or not that plus or minus 1 from leadership around Dante is worth 1 CP, it's a question mark for me. We got the Priest who's got Soul Warden. And not Rites of War, Visage of Death. Okay. We got Rites of War in this list. Yeah, okay. Cool, we're coming to that. Assault, Infiltrators. So Infiltrators for screening probably. Assault to push up. Death Company with 4 hammers and the Chainsaw guy. Death Company with Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. Chain Swords. Yeah. More Death Company with hammers and Power Swords. Sanguine Ancient with Rites of War. Sanguine Guard with 4 swords, 2 axes. Sanguine Guard with 5 swords, 2 axes. Eliminators with Las Fusel. Sergeant with Las Fusel. Eliminators with bolt snipers, and the whirlwind with the vengeance launcher. Why is that confusing me? The vengeance launcher is the one that gets 2d6 shots, right? The one that... Oh no, you've gone... The vengeance launcher is the crap one. Okay. The idea is to try and score Fury of the Lost points, or at least to take that as an option, and has beefed up the fire support some. If you want to score Fury of the Lost, we've been talking about this a little bit in Discord, you should probably take Lamartez, right? Because Lamartez has the keyword Death Company. So although he doesn't make Death Company immune to morale like Astaroth does, he has the keyword Death Company, so he'll count for Fury of the Lost points. Anything he kills or if he dies is going to give Fury of the Lost. He also does give Death Company reroll charges, which is pretty nice. And he also does give them +1 leadership, which is useful as well. In some ways, maybe that +1 leadership from Lamartez could counter the reason for Heroic Bearing. But even if, yeah, like, why take Heroic Bearing when Astaroth makes Death Company immune to leadership, right? I don't love the fact that Soul Warden is on the same character as the priest, because I think you want 2 bubbles of Feel No Pain. You want one around the priest, you want one around some other character. So, would it be better here to put Soul Warden on the Ancient? Soul Warden is a warlord trait. And then put... Can you do this? Hold on. Yeah, Rites of War on the priest, and Soul Warden on the Ancient, so you get 2 bubbles. Yeah, you also do have the wrong whirlwind launcher. I guess that's important to note. Lamartez is pushing at Astaroth for some other people as well. Some people, you would say you could take Astaroth as the warlord and take the CB hit on Dante. I mean, if you took off Dante's warlord trait, then you would actually break even by doing that, right? Lamartez also has Soul Warden, so you could do it that one. He does have Wrath of... Oh no, he doesn't have Wrath of Baal on the Ancient. Okay. I also think with your Eliminators, you're kind of confused, because... because... You think, why are we confused? Yeah, 1 squad of sniper rifles I don't think does a lot of damage. I think if you want to do sniper rifles on eliminators, you need to do both squads. And then I also kind of feel the same way if you want to do las fusils, you do both squads. Because my experience tells me a single unit of snipers doesn't kill anything, and a single unit of las fusils doesn't kill anything. So I think you want to double down and put both. Both las fusils or both sniper rifles. Like, if you split that up, you just end up doing... You just don't end up killing anything. Wrath of Baal is a great choice. I think I possibly prefer Wrath of Baal over Visage of Death. Because I think Visage of Death is really situational, and it's also difficult to use into some armies. Like, Gav's here in the chat, right? And like, Visage of Death would have been really useful for my game against Gav, because Visage of Death removes OBSEC from models within 3 inches of the priest, right? So it was like, technically, Gav's whole army is OBSEC and everything's super deadly, so like, removing OBSEC from him would have been super useful. The problem is, in his army, everything can heroic intervention 3 inches. So, like, there's no way I can place my priest to remove OBSEC without being heroically intervened by a knight that can do, like, strength 10 minus 4 3 damage hits. So I find Visage of Death, like, maybe into like blobs of Necrons or squats. I just think that like I don't typically play games where I feel like Visage of Death helps me. Like I don't get to the end of the game and be like, I wish I had Visage of Death. I think if you put Rites of War and Visage of Death together, I think Rites of War is much higher important pick. And as such I take Rites of War. I'm actually curious about the lists that we looked at just this week, the tournament winning lists. Did either of them have Visage of Death? I think one of them had Visage of Death. But did the one that actually won the big GT, did it have Visage of Death? Let me check. It had a priest with Rites of War. And it had an ancient with Soul Warden and Wrath of Baal. So the one that won the big event did not have Visage of Death, but he did have Wrath of Baal on the ancient. So yeah, I would probably do that, Inks. That's probably where I would go. Can you boost Visage of Death's range? Maybe you could boost it if it's on a Primaris. No, because it's a relic. I don't know. Can you boost its range? There's the Vox the Spiritum, but I don't know if that Visage of Death is a relic that gives you an aura. And then the Vox Spiritum add 3 inches to the bearer's aura ability. But I guess the problem would be I don't think we can give we can't give any character 2 relics. You can give a relic and a special issue war gear if it's your warlord, but you can't give 2 relics. So yeah, I don't think there is any way to boost the range of Visage of Death, unfortunately. If someone knows how to do it, they can let me know, but I don't think you can do that. Eliminators are actually pretty good compared to other snipers for shooting characters, but 3 shots a turn is not going to do much to anything tougher than a warlock. Yeah, that's my experience, Turkey. If you want to run eliminators, and I mean, I was running one squad of eliminators there for a couple of weeks now, and one squad tends to feel lackluster. So I think if you do eliminators, you need to do double, and you either need to be all las fusos or all sniper rifles. If you mix between them, you're gonna get suckered. If you run Visage on the priest when you run him with centurions because you can't Rites of War centurions. Oh, I mean, I guess that's true, Ben. I forget centurions can't be Rites of War because they aren't core. Okay. I mean, remember though, OBSEC is a Boolean flag, right? You either have OBSEC or you don't have OBSEC. So if you have like 5 centurions on an objective and your priest is on there and he's OBSEC, then all 6 of them are OBSEC. It's not like you have 1 OBSEC and 5 non-OBSEC. It doesn't work that way. So if the priest's on the objective with 5 centurions, then you have 6 you are OBSEC, like, because it's like you're either OBSEC or you're not. You are OBSEC with 6 models, right? So I think even with the centurion list, I'd probably still run Rites of War. Because, again, you're going to have to put your priest within 3 inches, and that's going to be difficult. And if you're up against knights, then they're just going to heroic intervention and kill your priest, so there's no good way to do that. Okay. Just back from Coventry GT, and a Blood Angel went 4-1. I think Innes finished 3rd in that one. Playing Gene Stealer cults, which is interesting. I think Eliminators value their forward deployment, incredible save and cover, and move, shoot, move. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about these Eliminators as well. You probably want the Sergeant with the Instigator carbine so that you can move, shoot, move. And if you're going to do, like, if you're going to want to do, like, actions or maneuverability or holding objectives with Eliminators, you want the Sergeant with those carbines. That helps a lot. So, yeah, probably, if you want to do Fury of the Lost, consider Lamarta's. Lose Visage of Death, Rites of War goes on to the Priest, Wrath of Baal and Soul Lord, and go on to the Ancient. And then beyond that, I think you're pretty good. The only other thing I could think that you might get value out of is Quake Bolts on that Eliminator Sergeant, so that you could get +1 to hit for all those Thunderhammers that you've got in the Death Company, which is definitely not going to be a bad idea. And personally, I don't feel like you need 2 squads of Infiltrators and a Whirlwind to hold the backfield. I think you could probably do it with 1 squad of Infiltrators and Incursor squad. I think I'd probably be more on board with going like 1 squad of Infiltrators with what's the thing they get where they can ignore the damage for the first thing for a turn? It's called like the Helix Gauntlet, I think. So I'd probably be more on board with like going 1 squad of Incursors and 1 squad of Infiltrators with the Helix Gauntlet. Once per turn, the first time a saving throw is failed, the damage characteristic is reduced to 0. So, probably be more on board with that than 2 squads of Infiltrators. 2 squads, and the only thing you're doing there is you're paying a 25-point tax or a 15-point tax, I guess, for the Infiltrators for the matchup of Chaos Demons, I guess. I don't know. I think when you go to events as well, like my experience of bigger events is like a lot of people don't deep strike that much stuff. Like deep strikes are generally unreliable, and I think that like personally, I don't think that I've ever really felt like I definitely need 2 squads of Infiltrators to screen out, like, because 1 squad of Infiltrators, if you daisy chain them 2 inches away, remember it's 12 inches diameter. That's a giant area. You can screen out like an area that's like 24 inches wide by about like 36 inches long. So you can screen out half the board, more than half the board, with 1 squad of Infiltrators just about. So I don't feel the need to take 2. I don't even take 1. I just take Incursors. I just take Incursors and put them forward and potentially try and tie up an enemy unit with a turn 1 charge. I think that's more fun for me. Okay, but overall, I mean, it's a decent list. A few tweaks there, and I think you could probably make it good. And yeah, get rid of the Vengeance Launcher, because the Whirlwind doesn't do any damage. I say that all the time, but it's so true. The only thing you're doing with the Whirlwind is you're trying to suppression fire. So you want the maximum number of shots you can make so that you always get a single hit, and that is the other launcher, the Castellan. Okay. Highland says Infiltrators with Helix would be awesome. I just never have the points for them. Yeah, I mean, if Infiltrators were a little bit cheaper, they're very expensive though, aren't they? Right? Like it's like 24 points per model for a 2-wound Marine with no AP and no melee weapon. Ugh, it's so expensive. They could be used against the occasional Webway Gate. Yeah, that's true. I haven't had that much experience fighting against the Webway Gate, to be honest. Yeah, no problem, Inks. I always say though, like before you go and change your list, maybe play it with keeping like take some notes from what I said, play it and see if any of the things come up in your game before you go and just change your list. Because I always think that small changes to the list, like incremental changes, are the best way. Like if you just change everything, it makes it pretty difficult to feel like some level of consistency. Okay, Max up next. Max throwing his list up for review. He actually just used it with the new Shock Assault for fun this past Thursday. Yeah, if you haven't tried Shock Assault, then try it. I've played it. I'm probably gonna pick it against Colin on this week just so I get another go with it to see how I get on. I'm curious what secondaries you suggest for this list. I've been running Relentless Assault banners and either Bring It Down, No Prisoner's Blade, or Assassinate. I don't pick Assassinate anymore. Sorry, I don't pick Blade anymore because I think it's a bad one in terms of like tournament performance. It seems pretty swingy. And then I've made a spreadsheet. If you haven't downloaded my spreadsheet, no, it's not a spreadsheet, it's a flowchart. If you haven't downloaded my flowchart, you can get it off my community tab. And it looks something like this. And it lets you pick secondaries based on based on a bunch of yes/no questions. So when you go to a tournament and you don't know what the hell your meta is or what you have to play against, you can pick based on like what has actually been performing well in events. So download my flowchart and use that. But I mean, we can look at that. I can give you some suggestions right now as well. Chris says my local meta has a lot of death from above and deep strikes, so infiltrators are incredibly useful. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you play against tons of it, but I'm not seeing it. But I mean, I haven't been to that many events this year. I have a son that's just 11 months old, so I don't think I've been to any 2-day events since before he was born, actually. Next weekend will be my first 2-day event since he's been born. Yeah. Mike says, quick question, what colour are you using for Volkite energy bits? I'm about to paint the Volkites. I was using Fire Dragon Blight, Mike, so some sort of orange. And then I think I was just washing them with, like, I don't remember what I washed. Probably washed them with Agrax Earthshade, actually. I'm trying to think. Or no, I would have washed them with, like, what's the other one? Reikland Fleshshade. Yeah, so I would have painted them orange and then washed them with some sort of, like, crimson-y wash, I guess. Alright. 4 CP, 2,000 point list, split battalion. Mephiston, Quickening, Unleash Rage, and Wings. Remove Quickening, dude. It's a trap. Every time I cast Quickening, it backfires. It's a trap. Dante, Heroic Bearing, Warlord trait, same as last one. And then Priest, Rites of War, Armor Indomitus. And I think Armor Indomitus is probably fine on the Priest in terms of like trying to keep him alive. My Priest does always tend to die a bit too quickly for my liking, so it's something you can definitely consider. For me, though, I think with the Priest, I think that Teeth of Terra is the right choice. But I think probably Armor Indomitus is like for a lower skill range. Because Teeth of Terra actually makes that Priest into like a damaging character. Because I think with the Teeth of Terra, he can have 8 attacks hitting on 2s. Probably wounds infantry on 2s. I think he was a lot better actually before Armor of Contempt as well, because I think the Teeth of Terra was -3, whereas now it's just -2. So he used to kind of be a marine killer. The reason I don't think Quickening is worth it, Brew, is because usually you would cast Quickening after you've used Wings, and usually with your 7-inch move and your 12-inch fly, you don't have that long a charge anyway, so I think it's just better to smite what you're going to go into. So yeah, Armor Indomitus will help keep you alive, but might be... Maybe once you're more comfortable in your positioning on the Priest and you're feeling good about your... Because I think the highest level players take Teeth of Terror on the Priest. I don't hate Armor Indomitus. I mean, if you're going to take Angel Sacrifice, maybe it helps. Maybe it keeps them alive one more turn, and that alone could be worth it, right? Assault Intercessors and Cursors. Jump packs within Thunderhammers, jump packs with Infernal Pistols and Power Fists. Death Company again with more Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. I think the Power Fists are probably... Infernal Pistols and Power Fists? I mean, I guess I'm okay with it. It's 15 points per model. I think I personally just prefer Infernal Pistols and Power Swords, but I mean, Power Fists will wound pretty much a little bit more reliable, so maybe it's fine. You've got Sanguinary Guard, and it's 2 7s, 2 Infernal Pistols in each, which is fine. The Assault Squad with a Sergeant with the Combat Shield, Infernal Pistol, and Power Sword, and then double Meltagun. You got 2 Land Speeders with multi-Meltas. Jack, thank you so much for subscribing. You can have 3 fast attack choices, right, though, in a battalion? Let me check that. Battalion. Yeah, you can have 3 fast attacks. So, Mac should split these up. There's no reason for these to be a single squad. There's not like there's not going to be any advantage to having them as a single squad because it's not like they're core and they can get chapter master rerolls or anything like that. And it's not like they can get feel no pain from a priest or something. So by having them as 2 separate squads, they can move independently from each other. They can also wounds wouldn't overflow from one to the other if they're shooting at them. And it makes it very easy to reserve them as well because there'll just be 3 CP. So you could easily put like a squad of assault intercessors and a land speeder into reserve. Cool thing about land speeder in reserve is it's very easy to bring it in within half range of something like a character that's maybe exposed and just snipe them with a multi-metal. I know I've definitely done that. And then you get the whirlwind with the Castellan launcher. So firepower really is just the land speeders. The rest of the list is kind of standard: 3 Death Company, 2 Sandguard, and the Assault Squad. Change the Shock Tactics Secondary mission on. Oh, I don't know why this is here. Max said, Sergeant is supposed to have a plasma pistol, not an infernal pistol. General game plan for deployment is setting up the assault squad in deep strike and the assault intercessors in strategic reserve. Yeah, okay, perfect. So the assault intercessor in strategic reserve, then take one of the land speeders and put it in a strategic reserve as well. That also helps if you want to do like relentless assault or anything like that, because you'll have another land speeder that can come in the opponent's deployment zone in turn 3. Banners is fine. Bring it down, no prisoners. Is fine as well. I really do recommend that you download my spreadsheet or my flowchart if you haven't done it, because yes, it's fine to say like, you know, let me think.
Kevin donated $5 via Super Chat. Haven't Super Chat in a while.
Kevin, you superstar, thank you for the $5. As much as it's good to say something like, you know, what secondaries you could take, you know, because you've got a psyker, so you could take like psychic interrogation or something. These numbers at the end, and these are pretty much arranged from like highest to lowest, or maybe not all the way, but they are arranged in a pretty sane order. So like, you know, is your opponent's deployment zone breachable? Yes. Will they be breaching ours? Because if they're not breaching ours, then sure, let's do relentless assault. If they're going to be breaching ours with shitloads of models, then let's take behind enemy lines. We'll still score an average of 8 as opposed to 10.72. But this spreadsheet is going to help you out a lot. I made it a few weeks back. I guess Shock Tactics probably needs updating, because essentially now it's probably just going to be scoring you 2 more points. It's probably going to be 8.4. So I can update this. I'll post it again on the communities tab. I can do that tonight, or I'll do that this week so that it's ready for my event. Because I'm going to take it to my event. So since I've been using that to pick secondaries, I think that I've been picking and scoring more consistently. And also, if you're using the spreadsheet, you can also pick some things that do score pretty high in some games that you're not sure about, to see like, hey, is this going to be valid for me? And that's exactly what I did last week. I ran Oath of the Moment because I've not run it in ages. I ran Shock Tactics because I haven't run it since they changed it, just to see how it would score. And I'll probably run them again this week just to see how it would score, because the more secondaries you're comfortable with or you feel you can score better, the better, right? But yeah, Kevin, thank you so much. Yeah, so split the land speeders up. Maybe lose quickening for Blood Boil. Everything else seems overly fine enough. I don't have a lot more I can say on this list, actually. Double Infernal Pistols and then the Sandguard squad seems good. The Melta Guns on the Assault squads are fine. I think I do prefer an Infernal Pistol on the Assault Sergeant over the Plasma, though. Like, if you've got the model. What's actually strongest for 30 points? 2 Thunderhammers or 3 Power fists. I think it would be the thunder hammers, because if you run into enemies that are either -1 damage or half damage, right? Because if they half your damage, they round up, and if they're -1 damage, they they're -1 damage, right? So thunder hammers essentially only lose 33% damage if you run into those enemies, where power fists would lose 50% damage. So like, yeah, Death Company get 5 attacks per model, right? So like the maximum damage that 2 Thunderhammers could do would be 30, because that would be 10. The maximum damage 3 Power Fists could do would also be 30. Is that right? Yeah. But if you run into -1 damage, then the Power Fists suddenly become 15, because it would just be -15. And the hammers just become -10. So the Thunderhammers are definitely have a place, and that's why I guess most people run them. But I do think Infernal Pistols and Power Swords are pretty fucking tasty. Infernal Pistol Power Swords are going to be very useful for like Drukhari, right? Because you have to blow up a transport to get to the models inside, and the models inside are going to be like toughness 3. So your power swords are going to probably wound them on like 2s. They're barely going to get a save because the power swords are -3. So it's a case of like jumping close, blow up the transport with a 3 or more infernal pistols, and then eat everything inside with the power swords. I think that's pretty good too. I'm not 100% sold on infernal pistols and power fists because I haven't played it, but for the same sort of situation, I think it could be okay. I need to get more death. I think over Christmas, I'm doing an 11 model Death Company batch paint at the moment. And I think I'm just going to add 5 more, so it's going to be a 16 model Death Company batch paint. Would I say this is a SKU list? I mean, it sort of is. I mean, it's only really got, you know, it's hard to say Highland Phoenix. I mean, like I said, what's going to happen if they put Death Company back up 2 points per model, or they put Sanguinary Guard back up 2 points model, because huge amounts of Blood Angels lists rely on just these 2 units, right? And when they were more expensive, it put us in a really horrible place. So that's where I am with this sort of list. Alright, so that's Mac's list. Where are we at next? Lists. We're on to Paul Ewan. No, I mean it's he's gone battalion, right? Which, like, so he's got troops. He's got, I think when you talk about SKU list, you have to start doing shit like, you know, you have no troop choices. You know, like that was that orc list with the buggies, right? It was just like, it's all weird detachments like Vanguard Patrol, just so they can actually min-max the hell out of stuff. Which is, I guess that happens in competitive space. Let's not get into it because we could debate it all day. Okay, so this is a Blood Angels list, but he hasn't clicked Nephilim, so it's telling him he's got 9 CP. If you're playing in Nephilim, it will actually be 3. You don't start with 12 anymore. He's got a captain on a bike. This is a Legends model, so I assume that you probably... Chaplain on a bike, sorry. Chaplain on a bike has been killed. You now need the Primaris model. But let's have a look at your choices. You've got Adamantium Mantle, you've got Master of Sanctity, and you've got Canticle of Hate and Mantra of Strength. So yeah, it would be fine. I guess just buy the Primaris Chaplain on the bike and expect him to cost like 30 points more, because I think he's 150 now. You've got a Librarian with Blood Boil, Wings of Sanguinius, a Combi Plasma. I'd rather take a Combi Melta, I feel like, because Plasma, I feel like, is always risky firing high power. You've got Rites of War, you've Visage of Death, and we just talked extensively on Visage of Death a few minutes ago. I don't think it's as core as Rites of War. In some ways, I don't even think it's needed. The guy that just won the 8-0 at GT didn't have it, so arguably it's not needed. I don't think it does all that much. Yes, there's the odd matchup it could be very useful in, but I think it's very situational. Visions of Death. Rites of War, on the other hand, I think is super core. You then have the Priest, who is the selfless healer, which is fine. We don't see too many selfless healers. A lot of people have stopped picking it since it went up to 35 points. That's what it is, right? Why are the Death Company the only ones that need both hands for a Thunderhammer? That's a very good question, Jim. I have no idea. I think it's probably just because they're a really old kit. Death Company were probably around before Vanguard veterans, maybe. And way back in like second edition, you didn't have close combat Terminators. I think like originally the Terminators were just bolters and like power fists / chain fists. Like you didn't have close combat Terminators till later either. So I think it was probably just something to do with that. Oh, there was. It's going to be in like. Do you know what? It's probably in this book. Because I have this book from forever ago. There was a passage in this book. I'm never going to find it now. But it talked about how Thunderhammers were like special, difficult to wield weapons, and they could only be wielded by Terminators, right? Like that was a thing. So at some point way back in the lore, they basically said only Terminators can wield Thunderhammers. So I guess when they gave them to Death Company, they made it that they needed both hands for their Thunderhammer. But this is going back like 20 years. Who knows what's happened? Okay, troop-wise, we've got Assault Intercessors, Infiltrators, Intercessors, and Intercessors. I genuinely dislike taking 4 troop choices. I think that the 100 points should just be spent on elites or fast attack or something, but, I mean, if you've got Rites of War and Vision of Death, you definitely don't need 4 troop choices. We've got Blade Guard Veterans, and it's a 3-man squad. I think 3-man squad of Blade Guard Veterans are okay, as long as you think of them more as a defensive, hold objective kind of unit. If you're just going to push them up the board through the middle, they're going to get shot, killed, and do nothing. Dawn of War 2 is flavor text similar to Thunderhammers. Yep. That's ancient flavor text, though. Super ancient, right? We've got Death Company with 5 hammers. We've got Redemptor Dreadnought with the Frag Storm, the Rocket Plods, the Plasma. The Frag Storms are kind of pointless. Just take the Storm Bolters. The Storm Bolters can be shot in combat. They pretty much give the same number of shots. They'll give you more shots reliably at half range, and your Dreadnought's going to be pushing up into half range anyway, right? Because it's got that melee fist. And also the Frag Storm of 18 inches. So if you ever need to shoot at 24, the Frag Storms aren't even shooting. So I think 2 times Storm Bolter is just a better choice. You've got 6-man squads of Sangre Guard times 3, 2 Infernals, 1 Infernal, 1 Infernal. I'd probably go 2 Infernals times 2 and just have 1 squad with no Infernals. That squad then can potentially be a squad that you can put in Teleport Strike or something like that. And then you've got the 3-man Eradicators with the Multi-Melta. And obviously the regular melt rifles. Vanguard Veterans and Terminators are the same Marines using different sets of armor. But yeah, I don't remember when Vanguard Veterans came out. But I do remember lore saying that only Terminators had the strength or the power or something to wield Thunderhammers. Okay, that's why I think Terminators shouldn't have -1 to hit with Thunderhammers, right? Other units should have -1 to hit, but Terminators are big, laborious, powerful. Like, why do they need -1 to hit? In some ways, it's the same as like aggressors. You look at aggressors, aggressors literally have their whole arms are like those power fisty bolt storm gauntlet things. Why do they have -1 to hit? Centurions don't have -1 to hit, and I mean, would aggressors be a lot more exciting if they didn't have -1 to hit in melee? Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, I don't see anyone running aggressors as of late. I don't. Maybe someone's running from it, but I don't know. Okay, so a few things about this list, I guess. Thoughts. I'd take 100 points out of my troop squads and put them somewhere else. Do you know what? In this list, I'd probably actually use them to add 2 more Eradicators, because that would be like 90 more points. And I already said that 3 Eradicators doesn't feel great. 5 Eradicators, on the other hand, with a Selfless Healer would probably feel pretty great. Your Dreadnought can obviously use his Wisdom of the Ancient to maybe make the Eradicators reroll some hits or reroll some wounds as well. That'd be pretty useful. 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard. Excuse me, hard to argue with that. The Squad of Death Company with Hammers, hard to argue with that. Blade Guard is a more defensive unit. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I just don't think they are too offensive, especially a 3-man squad. I'd probably never play Transhuman on them here. I think it would be a trap. You could add 20 Infernal Pistols for 100 points, says Nucking Futs. I mean, you could. I don't think you've got 20 guys that could hold Infernal Pistols here, but you could. Swap out the Stormbolter on the Redemptor. Consider Visage of Death like not such an important pick. You could also make your Librarian the Chief Librarian to give him more reliability on his casting if you wanted to. You've taken Blood Boil and Wings, which are fine, but I do think our best power is Unleash Rage. So yeah, I'd probably make this guy the Chief Librarian and give him Psychic Mastery or something, and maybe swap out this Chaplain for like an actual valid model. Primarch Chaplain on a bike would probably work. You gave him an Adamantium Mantle, it might be better to just give him Soul Warden, honestly, because Adamantium Mantle's a 5-up shrug against wounds, but might be better to just give him the aura of shrug anyway. If Aggressor's a Deep Strike and didn't cost 2 CP, bring in 5 for reserve, I'd like them a lot more. Yeah, I painted up 6 Aggressors. I used them all the time in 8th edition. And now they never get any board time, which is really sad, because Aggressors really did work for Blood Angels last edition. Like, I really did like them as a unit, because they could advance and shoot with no minus to hit, which was really nice. And then they could also double shoot if they stayed still, which also made like playing them really strategic, because you would like want to advance them and then be like, right, next turn this squad can stay still and they can double shoot. I really liked Aggressors. I used to run them near the banner from the Ancient, so they could reroll 1s to wound as well. It was brilliant. Okay. Yeah, so lose 1 squad of Intercessors. I'd probably make your other squad of Intercessors into Incursors, just because it gives you more freedom on the board deployment. Fix the Chaplain. Add 2 more Eradicators, something like that. And combine some Infernal Pistols here. If you desperate for some points, I do think Death Company with 4 hammers is fine. I've never run the 5 hammer squad, but typically when I run the 4 hammer, if you give them Assault Doctrine and you give them some way to reroll hits, then they do plenty of work. I've used Flamestorm Aggressors a couple of times now. Super fun, but not competitive at all. Yeah, I kind of wish that I'd made mine Flamestorm, because at least they're better than the Boltstorm ones now. But the Boltstorm ones were really good last edition. It's really sad. Okay, Toasty Devil is the last list for today. Wow, this is a short list. Okay. 4 CP. So he's got Dante. He didn't. Oh, he did say Warlord. Okay. He's got Primarch Techmarine with Master of the Forge, and he's got Sanguinary Priest with Rights of War and Icon of the Angel. Okay. Typically, I don't love going both Priest and Techmarine, because I feel like you kind of want to specialize. But let's see what we've got. We've got Heavy Intercessors with a Heavy Bolter. 150 points for those Heavy Intercessors. It's fucking crazy. But okay. Heavy Intercessors in the backfield with the Heavy Bolter, and Incursors ×2 for 105 points. 5-man Death Company with all hammers. We got Redemptor Dreadnoughts ×2, Rocket Pods, Macro, Stormbolters, 195 each. We've got the Sanguinary Guard, 8-man all swords. We've got Sanguinary Guard 7-man, 2 swords, 5 power fists. I'm not sure I love that. I think the power fists are kind of wasted points. Ish. I have Power Fist Vanguard and I never play them. Like, literally never play them. I just don't think it's worth the 5 points you spend on them. I mean, maybe situationally. But if you're dead set on taking them, then I'd probably mix a couple into each squad. because when the game gets going, you can never it's never going to be that easy, or it's never going to be that crystal clear to say that squad of Power Fist Sandguard are going on the left flank to kill this one unit. Like things never pan out, like that. That's why I kind of say, like, weapon options wise, if you've got, that's why I would rather do like 4 axes, 2 swords in a squad or something, as opposed to a squad of 6 axes and a squad of 6 swords, because inevitably, as the game gets hectic, you'll need models to react, and you can never telegraph where those models may be. You get Assault Terminators with 4 hammers, Sergeant with a Mastercrafted Thunder Hammer, you got the Teleport Homer in there, and you've got the 1 Lightning Claw. Cool, and that is that's 2,000 points on the nose. Kind of, excuse me, tired. Kind of okay, I suppose, not to have the Whirlwind. You have to be very smart with your charges from obscuring positions and stuff like that. 2 Sandguard and Death Company, backed up by 2 Redemptors, the Priest and the Tech Marine. I haven't done this. I've always felt like you either go Priest or you go Tech Marine, and then you build the sort of core of the list around that. And that's been my philosophy. And for a long time, I went with the Tech Marine, probably like all the way through Nakmund. And the one before that, I can't remember what the chapter approved before that was. Maybe it was just called 2021 or something. I ran Tech Marine based lists with Volcon Contemptors and Redemptors, because I felt like I had enough CP to use Adaptive Strategy, is that the one? To get my units into Assault Doctrine early if I needed it. And then now I've gone the other way on the Priest. I think this is cool though. I feel like maybe someday I should give this a try. Redemptor Dreadnoughts have got better with Armor of Contempt. I still think it sucks that they have no invulnerable save. Like, there's still things that can do a ton of damage to these. Like, -4 is still only saving on 6s, which is still pretty rough. So if it's like another Marine armory you're fighting in turn 1 and they've got multi-meltas and they're -5, then you're still getting no save on Redemptors. Like, I think that's kind of rough for a 195 point model. But I get it. The cool thing about having a Tech Marine, though, is you get to give 1 Redemptor 2+ to hit. And if he's near Dante, then he's hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, which makes him 97% chance to hit. The other Redemptor can get Chapter Master reroll. That gives them 88% chance to hit. So if you've got 2 Redemptors, one's got 97% chance to hit, one's got 88% chance to hit, you actually end up getting quite a lot of like really reliable firepower. My daughter's getting out of bed. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry. What's the best way to find a lot of Infernal Pistols? Don't say eBay. There is websites. Hold on, let me just find the charger for the baby monitor so I don't forget to plug it back in. Carter says, did I miss my list? Yeah, you were up first, Carter. So, like, just rewind to the start of the stream. There is websites 4 bits. One of the ones I've used is Bits and Kits, I believe. So there's this website. I guess you just do Inferno pistols. Great, there's no products in stock. That's not the greatest. Maybe just Inferno. You can click through. So like Warhammer 40k, 40,000 bits, Adeptus Astartes, Blood Angels, Death Company bits. Maybe just search pistol. Oh no, it's trying to print. That's not what we want. Oh god, I'm stuck. Oh, it's crashed my browser. Yeah, my printer's not switched on right now. So there's Bits and Kits. Their website didn't crash the browser. The fucking print preview, I think, has crashed. It'll come back to that. There's another one, though. I forget the name of the other one. Does anyone know the name of another? Like, they just buy, I think, the official models. And break them down. God, I hate Windows 11, man. It's so unreliable. Okay. So yeah, I haven't tried the Priest and the Tech Marine split. Because I kind of felt like those two things were mutually exclusive. But when you talk about 5 Death Company, 2 Sandguard, and Assault Terminators, and then the Double Redemptor, Heavy Intercessors potentially in the backfield, and Cursors pushing forward, Dante, the Tech Marine can fight as well. Tech Marine is not bad in combat. Once you get to Assault Doctor, and he gets like 8 attacks. Has it come back? Oh, cool. Okay, it's come back. I meant to press Control F for pistol. And there you go. Oh, Infernal Pistol. Infernus. They're spelling it wrong. Sold out. Sold out. Okay. What was the other website that sold bits? Maybe just Warhammer 40,000 bits. Bits Box. That's the other one. They sell bits as well. I've used both these websites. They're pretty reliable. They have Infernal Pistols. I guess they're for Sisters of Battle. These ones look exactly the same as the Blood Angels ones, actually. Maybe they're called Infernus as well. Yeah, I guess they're called Infernus pistols for the Blood Angels. But I mean, you could buy a couple here. 125 a pistol. I mean, on eBay you're probably like $3-4 a pistol. So you can sometimes email them and ask them to get bits in. They do get restocks sometimes as well. The Tech Marine is a monster in melee. Yeah, he can get 8 attacks. And he has like a pretty good axe, and he has the servo harness. So yeah, I don't dislike this list at all. I think not having a whirlwind is a bit annoying, and I don't have enough experience. If this was my list, I'd probably actually put Quake Bolts on this Tech Marine, because the Tech Marine's gun is brilliant for Quake Bolts because he moves 6 and it's an assault weapon. And he's got Ballistic Skill of 2, so you can move 6 and fire 24-inch Quake Bolts on a 2+, and if you do need to advance him, then it's another D6 plus 1 movement, and it's a 3+. So the Tech Marine's gun is really good for Quake Bolts. Helps a lot with Terminators, who are -1 to hit with those hammers. Helps a lot with Death Company, who are -1 to hit for those hammers. So I'd probably do something like round like that. The Infernal Pistols from Sisters are quite a bit smaller from the Death Company ones. Oh, thanks for clarifying, Exo. I didn't realise that. On eBay, you get slammed with crazy shipping taxes. Yeah, that sucks as well. What do people think about proxies on the tabletop? I'm going to be a little kit bash Terminators because they look better. I think as long as you agree with your opponent what the proxies are, then usually they're fine. Some events will also let you proxy stuff as long as the base sizes are right and that the models are a similar size. But so if you're going to an event, you would need to check Knight. But if you're playing friendly, you can just talk to your opponent and ask them, hey, I'm going to proxy this. Is that okay? Okay. Yeah, so that's today's lists. I was going to say, did I make any suggestions on Toasty's list? Not really. Just mix the Thunderhammers, mix the Power Fists between the Sangre Guard. I'd probably actually lose some of the Power Fists as well, maybe, and put, I guess, 2 power. I don't know. If it was me, I'd probably lose all the Power Fists and put some Infernal Pistols in both squads. Is there anything? I like the Mastercrafted Thunderhammer and the Salt Terminator. We don't see that enough. We always talk about it, but we never actually see anyone putting their money where their mouth is. I really want to play a game where I have a Terminator squad and I lose all of them except the Sergeant. So we've just got the Terminator Sergeant on his own. His whole squad is dead, and he's running around at the end of the game in Assault Doctrine with like 5 damage 4 Thunderhammer hits, and just be blowing Fury of the first CP on him to make him +1 to hit. I really want to do it. I've got that Terminator squad painted now. I just haven't been playing it for a little while, but yeah, cool. And that's tonight's lists. There is some scope for you to get your list viewed next week, but my schedule next week is going to be a bit random because I'm going to GT on Saturday, and then obviously I'll be going again on Sunday. So we'll see. Like, if I miss it, I'll probably post on my Twitter what's happening, or I'll post on Facebook what's happening with the event and stuff, and on Discord. But I'm not entirely sure when or what I'll be streaming next weekend. It really depends on like how my wife handles the kids while I'm away for like the whole fucking weekend, right? So I appreciate the good luck, Jim. I have no idea how it'll go. If nothing else, and this is the way I looked at it a few weeks ago, when like I can't build that SKU list that will win an event as Blood Angels, because one, I guess I don't have enough Death Company with hammers. I don't have enough Death Company with Infernal Pistols either. But I think as well there's too many armies that I'm scared of running into with that SKU list that I like. I'm pretty sure the guy that's got wolves is going to be there again, so if he's got wolves I just can't beat them. Where do I find the Discord? It should be in the video description. You should just be able to find it in there. So if nothing else, I'll be able to make a fun video on what it's like to take Blood Angels plus Knights to an event, and we'll see how we get on. So I'll take some pictures. I'll make some sort of video around the event, regardless how I do, and we'll see what streams come depending on how tired I am. For me, I don't know if I'm just old, but like playing 3 games of Warhammer in a day, if I'm really trying to win the game super hard, which I am because it's an event, it really fucking knackers me out. Like really, like I'll have like a splitting migraine. Yeah, you can't beat them in the combat phase. I know you can't beat them in the combat phase, XO. That's why I'm not running that sort of like. That's why I'm not running that list. And the guy that had that Space Wolves list had a really nasty successor chapter for Wolves that I actually think's legitly strong. Because like if you go to Space Wolves, they're like chapter stuff. Wherever it is, I don't know the name of the stuff. I'm just gonna find it here on Wikipedia. Savage Fury, while in Assault Doctrine, each time the model makes a melee attack, unmodified hit rolls of 6 score 1 additional hit. Right, so that's basically the Space Wolves like super doctrine, right? So they all have that, right? They also have the fact that they can all heroically intervene. I don't know what that's called. Heroic. Yeah, this chapter tactic. Each time this model makes a melee attack, if the model's unit has a charge move, perform an interaction, they get to add 1 to the hit roll, and units with this tactical are eligible to perform heroic interventions as if they were characters, right? So he was running a successor, which was Whirlwind of Rage, which means like if he makes a charge roll or he does a heroic intervention, he adds 1, so he would hit on 2s. And he had every 6 as Whirlwind of Rage, so every time he rolls a 6, he bursts 2 additional hits. And he was he's just running shitloads of lightning claws, right? So it was like everything's hitting on 2s, everything's bursting doubles on 6s, and double exploding 6s is super strong. Yeah, I mean it's insane actually, and I think I forget what his other thing was, because you're allowed two things from chapter tactics, right? I think it was like born heroes. Um, so I think he basically ended up with +2 to hit. So like his thunder hammers are hitting on twos because he's got +2 to hit, taking away the -1. So his thunder hammers are hitting on twos, and he's double bursting on sixes. Um, but and then a bunch of his models are fighting on death. So like every time I charge something, like the Wolven, they just I think the Wolven were all armed with like storm combat shields as well. I'm not 100% familiar on what Wolven's rating is, but they're toughness 5, they're 2 wounds, and any number they can all have storm shields. And then yeah, he had a bunch of them with axes, which I guess is really good into Marines as well. And the Frost Claws, which are basically Lightning Claws, but with +1 strength, so strength 6 Lightning Claws. But all I knew was the double exploding six. So I think he had double exploding sixes, and maybe it was just +1 to hit. But it was just destroying me. And then the other thing was I forgot a couple of times that every single unit in his army can heroic intervene. So like I probably lost like an engagement or two because of that. I hadn't played Space Wolves in ages, and I hadn't expected to play a Space Wolves list like that. But like honestly, after I came away from it, I was like, "Fuck! Should I be playing? Like, should I give up some of our Blood Angels? Should I give up the Red Thirst and pick Whirlwind of Rage? Because if you cast Unleash Rage with Mephiston, then every 6 is double exploding sixes. And you guys have seen me. Sometimes I roll 10 sixes when the Sangre Guard attack. Well, then that's suddenly fucking 30 hits. He loses the heroic and +1 to hit when charging. He was using that heroic then, Cambo. Like he was 100% using the heroic intervention army wide. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he made a mistake with the rules, but I don't know the Space Wolves rules well enough to question him. I mean, this guy's got to. He played Gav at one of the events actually. Like for, I think he played him at Brewhammer, and the winner would have won the event. So I'm sure if it was invalid, Gav would have known it was invalid. Oh, you're welcome, Carter. Yeah, I really think you want the priest over a redemptor. And did you understand what I was saying? That you can take the priest without fucking your detachments. It's just going to cost you a couple of CP, right? Do you understand that? Or do you need me to explain it? Oh, they have a strat to heroic any unit within 6. Maybe it was a strat that he was using then. +1 to wound is perhaps one of the best Marine traits. Until you come up against those armies that everything's transhuman against, right? And then +1 to wound suddenly starts to fall kind of flat. And it in the Space Wolf list, it actually kind of made sense because of those Frost Claws, like Strength 6 Lightning Claws. Double exploding sixes probably seems better than +1 to wound because of the rerolls in there. It's cool. It was interesting to see a Space Wolf list be so strong, and I hadn't played it before. I guess if I play it again, I'll know a little bit better. But I still think it would be a super tough game to win. Gunman Blues, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for watching, and you're more than welcome. I hope you enjoyed tonight's stream, guys. Like I said, we'll be back this week with a tactics video. I think we're playing Death Guard on Wednesday night. It'll be my last game before this tournament. I thought about making a video on Successors Highland Phoenix. Yeah, I thought about that. maybe I need to do some maths on a successor video and see if there's a play there or something. So many armies have counters to +1 wound now. Yeah, I mean that is true. That's true. That's why I like the sound of double exploding sixes. Okay, then that's maybe it'd be cool to win an event with a successor Blood Angels chapter as well. So maybe I'll do some maths on that in the near future. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you at some point this week. Thanks for the super chats as always, and thanks to the new members. And the chaplain could indeed buff you. I mean, you could take the litany that gives you +1 to charge, right? Sorry, +1 to wound. There is a litany that does that. There isn't a litany that gives you exploding sixes, that's for sure. Mike sent me some pictures of the Terrax. All right, let's get a picture of this Terrax up, and then let's let me head off for tonight. Carter's come in with a gifted sub at the last minute. Why did that not pop up? Did it pop up for you guys? Oh, I think I've got my... No. I was going to say, I think I've... Did the gifted sub pop up? Did somebody get it yet? Nightball. It popped up. Okay, I didn't hear it. Oh, was I out of the room? Was I singing to my daughter? There we go. It popped up now. Okay. Maybe my site's lagging. Right, here we go. There we go. Mike's making a cool job of this Terrax for me, that's for sure. I like it. Terrax was fucking expensive though. I think my daughter is shouting me for them in the other room. I'll put up one more picture and then I'm going to jump off. Alright, enjoy, guys. We'll see you soon. By a blood army made strong. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done it already. Peace.